We are here tonight, solely JJ and Tom, to discuss our top 10 Mystery Science Theater episodes. We're going to do our individual top 10, and we've done so many specials on this beloved cult show. It's brought us together as people, it's brought us together as just fans of comedy, but we just owe it to ourselves. What are the ones that are like near and dear to our heart? JJ suggested this topic, and I bit. I said, "Sure, why not? Well, let's fucking go. Let's do it."
All right.
All right. Yeah. So I'll let JJ go first since he is technically the moderator. But yeah, for those who might want to wonder, did you come into it like later in the Comedy Central run or just from the very beginning?
I got into it during the Comedy Central run. I think it was about 92 or 93.
Okay, so like maybe
Right
around season
before-
3 or 4.
Yeah, right before Joel. It was but I do remember seeing Alien from LA at my cousin's house. So it had to have been kind of maybe 92, 93. I don't remember, but I saw it at my cousin's house and I was waiting for it to come to my town because of the fact that our cable wasn't going to get Comedy Central yet. And we got it in 6. So I got it probably between season 6 and season 7. And they were playing a lot of the backlog stuff, from prior, from the prior seasons. And so I got that. And I also the year before that, I bought The Amazing Colossal Man.
Oh,
they had done, so I got into it that way. And then I started, then when I got into college, I was watching it a lot more. I got through the Sci-Fi Channel, and that was the one that, like, that's where it put me over a lot more. A lot of the shows it was hit or miss with the Sci-Fi Channel sometimes, but then now you look back at it, they're hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, if you are too young during Comedy Central, some of the references will go over your head, and you'll just realize it's more than just a puppet show. If you watch Sci-Fi, some of it hits you, but at other times, you got to get used to the fact that you are going to watch some questionable movies, and I think that's just it. Like, the show just gets so much better with age because they had stuff that they didn't realize would, in a way, just be so inspirational and predictable and kind of the norm now. This is like, now I can't go a single review site or YouTube channel that doesn't have some kind of MST3k inspired snarkiness, if not some Joe Bob or Elvira type sarcasm, on all kinds of bizarre movies and working it into their take on why they're pretty wacky and a film buff and know all this film history.
Well, you got to think too, like there were shows before Mystery Science Theater, like the Mad Movie Connection, where they used to take
Movie Connection, yes,
that was on Nickelodeon, Nick at Night, and they would do like takeoffs on movies or dub in the dialogue, and there were some other shows too. But this was just like Mystery Science Theater was like the peanut gallery that you wanted to be with, in high school.
It's just so weird. It's so wild. You couldn't describe it to anyone unless they had seen it. It was so. People who talk during a movie, that sounds irritating, and it's a puppet show. And just the title was so long, and sometimes you'd say MST3k, and maybe 1 in 20 people would understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, my friends were talking about it in college, and they were like,
"You're lucked out."
I know that show. That's the show with the guy with the 2 robots, and they make fun of movies. Yeah. I got a couple of their movies on video cassette. It's really fun to watch. So, that was that was a good thing. That was.
It did kind of build into the collector kind of mentality. Yeah. And half the time you're watching the show and you're wondering, what do you consider cinema while you're watching it with them? What is good? What is bad? What is trashy fun? And it's almost like you're watching Turner Classic Movies, but with a program guide who's actually watching it with you on screen.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I guffaw every Halloween. Some of these movies that are beloved and infamous, I'll go for the program guide, and it will take me a moment before I'm like, oh yeah, that's like episodes 3 of season 5 of MST, and it's playing on TCM on the morning hours this Halloween. Oh man, how about yourself, Tom? What era did you get into? And because I was exposed to all eras all at once. I was watching sci-fi reruns while watching my parents' old VHS of Comedy Central era, and it was secondary to me. And even if it wasn't the funniest episode, it was still just one hell of a creative show that tough to describe, hard to fathom how anyone else could come up with it in groundbreaking TV. Very well deserved comedy underground.
I actually came to it in college. It probably would have been 91 or 92.
Oh, damn, very beginning.
Yeah, I had a college professor friend who introduced it to me and we watched a few episodes.
Yeah, you have a good professor. I wish I could have taken that class.
Yeah, but I want to say, I can't remember which episode it was, but I knew that as soon as I saw what was going on, I was hooked. There was no turning back. I was going to be a fan of this show no matter what. And to this day, I am a fan. But I want to say one of the ones that's on my I want to say the one that really I cut my teeth on, thanks to a friend of mine who was living in a completely different community at the time who got cable. It was Crash of the Moons.
Oh God.
That was the one I cut my teeth on, and I would watch that repeatedly among some of the other ones that he would willingly tape for me. But that exactly. To this day, I'm sending a bannergram, but that's. And no matter how many times I watch an episode that I've seen a million times, I will sit down and watch it again because
you will find something new. You will,
yeah. Even if it's just to recite the lines
along with them,
yeah. And sometimes even come up with riffs of my own that didn't make the cut. So, but that's what really inspired me to
even find jokes that flew over your head, and now is like, oh, I especially love that kind of humor now.
Oh yeah,
it's even funnier. Oh, so yeah, this is dynamite. So we're in good hands. So JJ, I'll let you list your first entry on your list. What is an episode you've seen many times that is one of your favorites?
The first one I would have to say would be the Starfighters.
Good pick. Good pick.
162. A movie that has Bob Dornan, Senator Bob Dornan.
Yeah. Just to clarify, guys, an actual politician.
Him, yeah, he was B-1 Bob Dornan because he was a big fan of the B-1 bomber or something like that. And it's a movie about these three Air Force guys who basically go to
they try to shag people and they're just going around going to dinner.
They go to dinner, they fly their planes, they shoot things out of the air. There's a lot of refueling sequences that are basically double entendre for sexual innuendo.
Yeah.
It's a movie, poopy suit, he falls in love with a girl from Iowa who's a corn detasseler. And it's like it's such a bad movie because everybody you think it's going to be a movie about
involve your audience, it's like Teenage Caveman has so much climbing, this has so much B-roll of what feels like it would be a PSA or documentary footage.
I mean, the way there's so many good riffs in that movie. I mean, it's like there's one part where he says, "Go ahead, touch it," like either talking about the plane, or he gives him the helmet. He says, "I want you to just ignore the bits of skull and brain matter that are in here."
Yeah.
I mean, where are you guys from? Russia.
Foreign jokes.
It's one of them. It's if Joel had Monster A Go-Go, Mike has the Starfighters, because it's just such a it's a movie, and they take bennies, Bexies, and uppers,
Decades and hours.
basically Crow. I think it's Crow or Servo says. So basically, the the Air Force is a bunch of ugly, misshapen guys who can't get lucky with women and take amphetamines. Yeah, okay.
Pretty much,
I love that. Yeah, they do more talking about the movie instead of trying to work in characters from the film or other running gags, and it works because, like you say, is like Mike gets to be more dry this time, and again, yeah, Crow and Servo are just going to town just with the locker room talk. Just yeah, and like you say, this movie could have been good, but yeah, it's just it. I can't recommend it unless you're you like aerial porn,
And the music is like,
yeah, trumpets. Oh my god. It would work in a Tarzan movie, I guess. I don't know. Not there.
And I will say that is also on my list.
Oh, nice.
It is actually number 6 on my list.
Sweet.
And
yeah, it's an honorable mention for me. I do love it. I would totally show it. It's a very underrated episode altogether, just because I don't know. It's just I guess it just didn't get replayed as much, but I know it has its share of fans who.
Well, I love there's 2 bits in there when Crow and Servo are trying to do the refueling thing.
Yes.
And then Tom has the United Men's Servo chorus.
That's definitely, I think that's even included in the Poopy and some of the other blooper VHS compilations or best host segments. It's definitely a cool music-based comedy.
Yes, it is. And this is the episode where Crow is trying to get onto the information superhighway.
Yes.
Information superhighway.
And for people who were not born at that point in time, it's eerily accurate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
But it is still cool in that they can bring together these existing things that otherwise most people would struggle to make a joke out of, and they're able to sum it up for you. And that they're more PSA than these failed PSA shorts that you all watch. Isn't there a short in that episode?
No.
Okay, yeah, they go straight into the movie because it's basically is one failed extended short.
because they do Cowboy Mike's original Texas Ricochet barbecue sauce.
Yes, it is cool seeing him in that cowboy hat.
Barbecue sauce.
But it's not bold. It's decidedly not bold.
And it's a change of pace. For a while, they were kind of like Mitchell, being a detective movie. This is a difference, seeing basically a wartime prep drama with failed romance and everything instead of the usual giant monster or bizarre failed sci-fi TV pilot for once. Oh, good one. Well, what do you got next?
Oh, me?
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to circle around.
All right, this one was tough because I was going to put in an honorable mention, but I was like,
gotta go with your gut.
I can't. It's too good. It's too good.
Personal remix. So you put
Death Stalker and the Warriors from Hell.
It's my number 6.
Nice.
Oh my god, that is such an underrated Mike episode. And I have a thing for all the sword and sorcery sandal movies. And being part of the trashy Roger Corman movies, it is so much fun just seeing them joke about how the main actor is also a soap opera guy named John Allen Nelson. They're like,
he was also in the movie Hunk.
From the movie Hunk. He later went on to be various guest starring roles on various shows like Baywatch, 24 of all things.
And what's funny about that is Tom Christopher is in it.
Yep, our Hawk from Buck Rogers.
Rogers. And the thing is about that movie is that if you watch it, it is they're kind of doing like, a lot of it is tongue in cheek, but some of it is like, they have the guy who's like, they make fun of this one guy who's like, He looks like Michael McDonald from the
They
Doobie
do
Brothers.
sneak in so much music jokes for all the various peasants. They make fun of the horse riding and arrows like usual in this kind of movie.
Potatoes are what we eat.
Right, got to sneak in an Elephant Man joke. Potatoes, yeah.
No. It's there's this. No, it's not. It's
Oh shit.
No, what was it? He's in a valley with this beautiful girl, her mother, and they're like all they eat is potatoes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And he's like, "How about there's only 3 words that go with this: sour cream with chives."
And how can we forget the infamous sword fight at the end with the plastic swords and unconvincing backgrounds? I say this as a B movie lover. It is a fun slice of life. There's really no difference from that in the uncut other than like just shortening just a lot of nothing going around and people walking around. So
they did have to take out the sex scene. I mean, there is a scene where him and the girl are in bed together.
I bet. And there's a gal who's in a bubble bath. I'm sure there's some titillation there.
But my favorite part is that when he's being tortured and you see he's like on his back and Mike says, "Hey, it looks like somebody's going on a little camping trip."
But that he does love getting risque on this kind of thing, and it kind of rivals Double Fish in terms of they're just saying everything that's on our mind. They're like, "Oh my god," successfully made fun of this uncharismatic, sexy.
The thing that gets me is the guy who's one of the guards would play the guy who helps out Puma Man.
Vendejo.
Vendejo.
He's in a lot of Roger Corman and even Werner Herzog production.
He was in Fitzcarraldo.
He was. He's one of the guys pulling the boat up the ramp. But yeah,
he's not one of the guys pulling the boat up. He's one of the guys on the crew.
Oh, I thought that was the crew. But okay, so yeah, Miguel Angel Fuentes, and you've seen him in all kinds of movies, from The Mexican to Blow with Johnny Depp to even just generic Vietnam shoot 'em ups, like Mission Kill, which stars our paper chase guy for the last one. Yeah, but yeah, Puma Man is there, and yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this one. This is definitely an underrated one too.
yeah, he's the Robert Zadar before we knew about Robert Zadar.
Yeah.
And he does have quite the chin. I think Bruce Campbell, you got some competition here.
Yeah, him and Jay Leno.
Oh, good point. Jay, work on it, Jay. So that's one hell of a mention. Nice.
All right. My 8th one, I had to think hard about this because it's Samson versus the Vampire Women.
Yes.
And El Santo.
One hell of a versus title.
Yeah. An El Santo movie. El Santo, if nobody knows about this, El Santo was a Mexican wrestler. And he was highly regarded down there. Like his funeral was like a national day of mourning. He's a luchador. He was
the director of that. I know the director of Death Stalker Free was Alfonso. Wait for it, Corona.
Yeah. So, what happened was that he was in these movies with like a guy named Blue Demon, but this was the one that I think I remember seeing on USA Cable.
Oh God!
On Commander USA, and then watching it, when it came to MST3k, and the plot is just so strange. Like there's a girl who's being reborn, and she's going to be the queen of the vampires, and it's up to El Santo to save her from her doom, and there's like this one scene where the vampires are roughing up and El Santo fights him, and Crow goes, "The Flying Nosferatu brothers."
Yes.
And then there's a joke in there when the queen of the vampires, or the one who's the assistant, takes the 3 guys and goes, "You ever see a Polish magnet? Come, let me show you."
God.
Yeah, that movie was just trippy to watch. And I got to say that's in a tie with Santa Claus. the
Santa
Mexican kid
Claus has
movie.
a great heavy metal parody sequence. Yeah.
So I kind of tied those two because K. Gordon Murray I think had a hand in both of those.
Mm-hmm.
And what gets me is the Santa Claus one is totally like not what we have as our mythological structure. Like Santa Claus doesn't live on the North Pole, but lives in the clouds above the North Pole. Doesn't have elves, but has child workers, right?
Yeah, slavery.
He has to fight the devil,
right? And that gives way to the recurring pitch the devil, host segment character.
Pitch the devil, who is like the most crappiest villain I've ever seen in my life. Then there's a little girl named Lupita who wants a doll.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
and it's a recurring thing. I love how Mike goes, "What do you got for us there, Lupita? What do you want now?"
No, Lupita, no.
No.
Yeah, no. Yeah, much like Conquers the Martians. Pretty much it's a throwback to that as well as just.
I mean, that movie's become like a tradition now in my family.
Oh,
like,
wow!
I will watch Santa Claus.
I saw it about 5 Decembers ago, I think. So,
yeah, I will watch Santa Claus, the Mexican version of Santa Claus, and laugh my ass off. Especially with some of it's just such a strange movie to watch. And I found out that it played in the United States. It was a matinee kids movie back in the 60s or the 50s, whenever it came out. So,
hey, 50s were weird back then.
I mean, he's got and some of the riffs are great. Like when he's got the manger, and Crow goes, "Action Jesus, manger sold separately."
Really?
Yeah, making fun how it could be a marketable action figure.
And then I love it when they're showing all the kids from every continent. The kids from Africa, and there's these black kids with like a bone through their nose, and they're playing like bongos and stuff. Then they do like the kids from France stink to high heaven.
Yeah.
The kids from Britain have rotten teeth.
Anytime they're making fun of any of those just body hygiene, it's just instant comedy. Oh man.
Yeah, I will also say that Samson versus the Vampire Woman showed up as number 9 on my list.
Okay,
cool.
Sweet.
And it's one of my wife's favorite ones too, because we'll sit down and just watch it, and we will also start quoting that El Santo, he's fighting the ring tonight. And we'll say it just like that, apropos of absolutely nothing.
And everyone instantly knows what you're talking about.
Yep.
And the thing in that show is that's Frank's last show.
Yes, it was.
Oh, true. Shit, so sad.
That's Frank's last show.
Second Banana Heaven.
Yeah, it goes to Second Banana Heaven with Torgo the White.
Yes,
they're all there. Gabby Hayes, like you just he mentions, yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas today. And I love the beginning, like him and Dr. F order all this Chinese food.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Where's my mock duck? Where's my mock duck?"
Yeah.
Frank, where'd you eat all the Chinese? Where's all the Chinese? All right. So I got that there.
That's great. Oh man, I'm loving this list.
Okay. This is kind of weird. I had to do a split on this one too. The Day the Earth Froze.
Yeah.
With one of the best shorts they ever did. Here Comes the Circus.
Oh, here comes the devil.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's the other Russian Finno epic, The Magic Sword.
Yes, Magic Sword is fun because regardless of whether you consider it good or classic, fantasy classic, it is a fun just kind of seeing them again, just make fun of the costumes. And I think they get into costume in a host segment too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. But the thing I love about the day the Earth froze is first the short, like Tom said. Here comes the circus, where I had. There are a few times in my life I've had to watch something and then leave the room because I was laughing so hard. Because there are some parts in there, like they show like a boxing match between clowns, and Crow goes, here's Bing Crosby representing. Here's a representation of Bing Crosby in a relationship with his son Gary.
Oh, it's dark Hollywood secrets that they're joking
and
about.
It's a full contact. Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf? Don't talk about our clown, Martha. And Madonna, and the two clowns are like, "Well, oh my God, they're doing it clown style."
Wow, yeah, they're making fun of just so many like circus freaks.
But the thing that gets me about the day the Earth froze is like, it's an actual story.
Yeah, and it actually was one of the movies that got like better reviews at the time. It was just what was available on their antenna channel.
Yeah, and what happened was that it's actually been remastered into,
I think so. It got a Blu-ray treatment,
and they did a Blu-ray of it. And the thing was that got me was they didn't know what the Sampo was. The Sampo is this thing. What's a Sampo? I don't know. Can you it's something that gives, what is it? Corn, salt, and gold.
Oh, DeSanto. Yeah.
No, it's Sampo.
Sampo. Oh,
Sampo.
I don't know what it is then.
And the part I love is when they're having the wedding, and like, he didn't bring back the Sampo. He's a big giant failure. Sampo. They're just making fun of the guy's name is Lemminkainen, and he has to go through these trials and tribulations to get the Sampo. And there's an evil witch, Anarchy. There's the evil witch Loki, and then there's his love, Anarchy, and Joe goes, Anarchy in the UK. And then there's her brother, and she comes in. She says, "Oh, brother of mine, sister, you shaved your beard."
Yeah.
The land was plenty and beautiful, was large and beautiful, as were the women.
And that's where they really do shine, is when they finish other movie characters' sentences for them.
Well, there goes the last spotted owl. And then they go to the magic sword, the sword and the dragon. The sword and the dragon, which is like, I mean, it does start off a little slow, but as things go along, you're like, there's these riffs that just come in and they just drop these riffs in where you're just like laughing hysterically, like when when they come to the hero's house and he can't move his legs for some reason, and he goes, and they go, I must remind you, I'm just a torso, so don't get freaked out.
I'm just a torso.
And then he has, and he says, what do they have to do with the swords? Bathe them in Mountain Dew or something like that? I don't know what they're talking about here, But I found out that movie was done. The guy who played the prince in that movie worked with Sergei Eisenstein.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I forgot his name, but he was in Ivan the Terrible and Alexander Nevsky.
And this is where I do wish they could probably do a little homework on that, but at the same time, I mean, no one had that information back then. It was before IMDb. So.
But I just think that movie, The Sword and the Dragon, is just so, it's just so weird to watch. They have a giant who becomes a mountain. Take the sword of invincible.
You keep waiting to see one of these giant fantasy movies reference something like that, or the giant colossal man. You're like, guys. Oh man. Good. Okay. Well, you got about 6 more. Right. You want to mention?
Yeah. My next one was Overdrawn at the Memory Bank.
It started as a PBS Masterpiece Theater episode
in 84, 85, I think.
Oh God.
And then
Is it
I
longer
saw
with commercials?
there's some stuff they cut out that was like kind of like strange to look at, but when you watch it now, you're like, oh my God, this is so bad.
It's like it could have been in a better hands, a Star Trek Twilight Zone episode, but it's just too stilted, and the production value deserves better when you got a big name star like Raul Julia.
Well, they do a lot of like riffs on like PBS, like if you like Newton's Apple or Nova, like they do that, and
Right.
Pearl is having a fun drive.
Yes, where lovers, when loving
Mhm.
lovers love.
They got like a bunch
Lovers,
of real life
yeah.
fans, I think, to be extras, if I'm not mistaken.
And the thing that gets me is like, Servo has to buy a tote bag, and they but the movie itself is just like, Raul. I like what she says. Well, Raul Julia was in this piece of sheer entertainment. I have no idea.
You're right. Oh man, it is torture, but it is amusing. It's one of those where it's just like, hey, PBS may be respectful, but they can't hit it out of the park every time.
No,
It's
no,
Chicago.
they can't. And not only that, but I mean, the thing that gets me is like when you watch that movie, Raul Julia is like there's a fat guy in it, right? The fat man.
Oh yeah, giant
Yes.
face. Yeah.
A new one. They're like, why are you deep? James, or are you deep fried? Uh, like one part he's walking around and Servo and Crow are making like farting and burping noises the whole time.
Yeah, this is where they definitely, anytime anyone's at dinner, they go to town. They make sure to remind you of how morbidly obese some of these guys are.
So that's up.
Oh man.
The next one I have is Iga.
Eega.
Iga.
Watch out for snakes.
Watch out! Yeah, watch out for snakes.
Watch out for snakes. Oh my God.
The infamous 1962 caveman movie.
Arch Hall Senior, Junior.
Arch Hall Senior and Arch Hall Junior. Marilyn Mayweather.
Way too close to her dad.
Yeah.
Why don't you seduce the monster while I watch? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Mom.
Go on, kiss him. I mean, just the story itself, but some of those scenes, it's like, oh, you want to take a shower, after she's like,
it's bad.
She shaves her father, because he's got, la 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 la,
It's so bad. Oh my God.
And Archibald Jr. I feel sorry for because he's a real talented musician, but they give him some of those songs and it's like, I love you, Vicky.
Right. Who's Vicky? Yeah.
But he had done a movie before that called Wild Guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the same song in that movie that he did in this.
Ego stroking time. Gotta bring it back out.
But I mean, it's just silly to watch, I mean,
it really is.
It's just such a silly movie, And Richard Kiel, who's 7 foot,
freaking
was
Jaws
like,
from James Bond, yeah.
Yeah.
He's in like 3 of these MST movies.
He's in 3 because he does,
or maybe
Phantom
4.
Planet. Phantom Planet.
He's like a featured. He's the monster in that, and then there's like one other. He's like
Human Duplicators.
That's
Human Duplicators, which I have.
I'm Kodos.
Yeah, and Diakolos. Which I have as an honorable mention. That's like the real first one that I saw, Human Duplicators.
Nice.
But yeah, that I mean, just his presence. He does. It's like he just plays this big giant caveman, and from what I understand, the movie made a lot of money. So it wasn't that bad. It's just they played at a drive-in, and supposedly from what I understood, Richard Kiel would come out in his EGOT costume and like walk around the drive-in while Arch Hall would be in the lobby, like strumming his guitar, playing one of the songs.
Oh, that's freaky.
Yeah. So
Man. And oh man. Okay, well, what do you got for his next sport?
Okay, well, the next one it is a trilogy.
Ooh.
Okay, made by I'm sorry, wait. It's not a trilogy. It's two movies this guy did. The third one I kind of like threw out because I'm not. It doesn't really seem that good, but it's Red Zone Cuba and
Oh, yes.
Francis Deep Hurting. Oh my god.
And the what was the one? The one with the parachutists.
Skydivers.
Oh yeah,
The skydivers.
The skydivers, which I would
Yeah.
often mix up in title with the Starfighters, like two different public domain movies.
Now I was gonna
you can get them in a Mill Creek DVD set often, and it's like, man, how much do you hate yourself to go for that?
Well, the thing is that there's a thing. I was gonna put Space Travelers there, but I decided not to because Space Travelers, I think, is an honorable mention because it's one of the few movies they did that was Oscar nominated.
Yeah,
it's marooned. It's film ventures.
It's pretty watchable. It's just often mocked because
it was what they had. The best thing about that is Crow doing Gregory Peck.
Yeah, doing his impressions. I know Trace Bernier says he wished they hadn't done it because he didn't see anything wrong with it, so it was harder to write jokes for it. But
but Red Zone Cuba and the skydivers.
Skydivers has a great line during the random just where the gunmen just come out of nowhere and start shooting everybody. I love how Servo just starts roasting it, saying, a Republican wet dream, you know, and other NRA jokes. It's like, Jesus.
The thing I love about that is like Red Zone Cuba is the last movie I think Coleman Francis made.
Oh man, and Tor Johnson going around.
Well, that's
Night Train to Mondo. My bad.
That's Beast of Yucca Flats.
Yucca Flats. My bad. Yes.
Yeah, but
oh man,
I kind of put Beast of Yucca Flats out because it's not really. I mean, I just kind of I kind of would.
It's kind of very torturous, even though it is a funny episode.
But
oh god,
the one thing I've always said about Coleman Francis, you know, the motif of like the one part I love in like Red Zone Cuba, they come back and they go to this like diner where this guy lives with his blind daughter, and they throw the guy down a well so they can steal the car, and it's like they get you know, it's like Coleman Francis was not meant to be an action hero. He looks like Curly from the Three Stooges, and he has, I think it's the two guys that are with him, are just like these two like low lifes, and then it's just bad. And then the skydivers is like, you know, great photography, but the story just falls flat.
Yeah, this is a rare moment where you're like, hey, it could have been good, but
it could have been good, but it wasn't.
And one of the agents in that, I think, is like Tony Sedaris or something. I think not Sedaris. It's some Kadaris or somebody also plays the agent with the gun.
Cardoza, maybe?
Anthony Cardoza was in all three of the movies.
He was Coleman's best supporter, and it's like, either Coleman was a giallo filmmaker who didn't know how to say what was on his mind, or he just hated society, as Kevin Murphy is.
He's got the weirdest vector in Hollywood, because you got to realize too, he was in This Island Earth. He played the mailman, right? Yep. And then he like makes these three movies, and this was, you know, I love what Mike says, like, this is the kind of movie where it says, I won't pay you now, but I'll pay you later when we make some money back, you know?
Yeah. In a way, he's probably behind the creation of all these other infamous B-movie filmmakers. I'll pay you when I never get paid. Oh, God.
And I'll say that Red Zone Cuba comes in at my top, in the top 10. It comes in at number 1.
Nice.
Number 1. What's number 2? We'll get there.
You'll find out.
You'll
In fact, a lot of these movies are number 2, but that's another point altogether.
After these messages, get ready for El Stinko.
Okay, so then I have number 3, which is the movies that kind of are like I've been wanting them to do this for a long time, and when they did them, I was happy that they did them. Hercules and Hercules Unchained.
Yes. Gotta love me those Hercules movies. All the Steve Reeves
Steve Reeves ones, not the Reg Park. Although Hercules
it's just not the same.
Women
Steve is just
Steve Reeves it's just ripe for picking.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's whole fun trash movies, but the time travel is even more awkward. The avalanches are wacky, and and their commentary is good because again, they love these kinds of movies. So.
You know, and there's so many things they just throw in, and you're like, wait, well, what was that? You know, and that's what made it so good about those movies. So I have to say that's number 3 on my list, Hercules and Hercules Unchained, because those movies were dubbed. They were done probably back to back, I think.
And the more they go on, the more convoluted they get. There's one that's like called Hercules, but it's more of a Robin Hood movie with and they just put Hercules on the name. But my sister got me like a DVD set of some of the ones, and they included both the ones that had been ripped as well as the uncut ones. So that was Heaven on Earth, just counting the body count and wacky, just bizarre, sorcery and kingdom disdain that was going on. You're like, what's going on here? I don't know, but it's one hell of a party. Good on you. Good to have some sword and sorcery stuff.
Number 2. Now, I just want you to say, before I get to number 1, I took Manos out. The reason I took Manos out is because that movie has become a cult classic, and it's the little engine that could. Because it went from being this obscure, forgotten movie to now they had a sequel come out. They had two sequels actually that came out, and it's kind of like become it's taken a life on of its own. So I took Manos out of that equation of like the worst ones I've seen.
It's
I had to do that. The second one on my top 10, Alien from LA, 1980.
Going into Albert territory.
It's a South African movie. I think it was filmed in South Africa. And it was done Australia. Australia. Kathy Ireland's first movie, and I think the only movie she made.
Other than playing herself in like a few movies.
She was in another movie, called Unnecessary Roughness.
Yeah. But this
which
was
I saw so many ads for, especially during early MST3k episodes, which was eye-opening.
But the thing that cracked me up about this movie, it was her starring role. It's a takeoff on, Journey to the Center of the Earth meets, something, I don't know what. She plays this character who's got this squeaky voice. There are all these freaky people, trying to chase her and stuff like that. So many great riffs. The one riff I love is when the guy comes out and he's like, Paul Westerberg to the rescue. And the thing is, I found out there's a sequel to it.
Really?
Called Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Oh, that's right. That was leftover footage.
It was leftover footage, and they brought back the cast, and now you find but it was just such a horrible, and that to me is when Mike took over as a host.
Mm-hmm.
They'd had a couple shows and they were pretty good. Mike, it seems like it's a Joel era show, but Mike is doing the hosting.
Yeah, totally. It is that kind of a movie that it just happened to be left over, and it does feel like one they would have done earlier, like in their first year.
All right, so now I'm up to number 1. Attack of the Eye Creatures.
Ooh.
a 1966, 67 movie. John Astley was in it. It's a movie so bad. I mean, the riffs are perfect. It does stall a little bit, but the thing I love is at the end, like they have the eye creatures in full costume, and then there's some eye creatures that are, in just blue suits with just the head on, and and like they say give chase give chase to an eye creature where he's wearing his Jack Purcell athletic sneakers.
Had to get in a Pink Panther joke.
There's two guys in the movie, and Tom, if you've ever seen it, and Cam, if you guys ever seen it, there's these two guys watching these teenagers like on a closed circuit TV, and they go, and now the two most unappealing people ever in the history of cinema.
Kind of a throwback to Mitchell. Is like the hero of the movie, everyone.
You're a hero. But it's just Mitchell.
My Mitchell.
Yeah, so that's my top 10. Alien from Attack of the Eye Creatures.
Some damn good picks.
Honorable mentions: Escape 2000, Leave the Bronx.
That is on my list. Nice.
Yeah.
Escape 2000, Space Travelers. What else did I have on there that was like? I was trying to figure out what else could go there.
So many.
The Magic Sword, which is like the first time they say, "Hey, for a Burt I. Gordon movie, this isn't that bad." And I have Laser Blast on there.
Sweet.
And I forgot what else. There was another one on there, but those were the four that I had for honorable mentions.
Very cool. You did your dirtiest. You did your damnedest. All right. I guess I'll go next, and then I'll let Tom take it over from here. So,
all righty.
In no particular order, I got Final Justice.
Oh,
don't get me wrong. Mitchell's a classic, and people cry when Joel leaves. But I, no matter what year and era or how old I've been, this one just, despite it being a sleazy, they basically have most of the violence uncut. I'm sure they edit the part where he throws like a giant like pole into a guy's eye, but and they take out the sex and everything, and it is just so funny how, because of how heavily edited, they, much like Future War, they add that to the edits. They're like, I can't hear what he's saying. Son of a what?
And Joe Don Baker, for all he's done, I mean, I feel, like you have Rosanna. Was Rosanna Brazzi in that?
Yeah, I think they have like a Spanish guy who did like some Telemundos and not much else or something like that, and then they have all these other guys.
They had a couple of like Italian actors that were really well known, but that movie is just so sleazy.
I can sleazy. It's more. I can
smell the sweat. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, and it's just so much. It makes less sense than Cobra, except instead of all the violent moments, you're all kind of distracted by is like, so why did they even let him out of the jail cell when they know he's gonna just go on a rampage? And just the whole. I've seen many say it was like a lame like Retin to Yuma, the Searcher storyline, and then they just added the whole, get it? He's Geronimo the Third. He's a half Native American, and you're wondering why they introduced this when it has nothing to do with the movie. Oh my!
What does he say when he's going to shoot a guy? You would think
go ahead on.
Go ahead on.
Go ahead on. It's like he wants.
Go ahead on. I'm like, what?
And they always do. Yeah. He's so dedicated to this role, and much like Mitchell, it's just let down by just the nonsense.
Well, they got Graydon Clark directing the movie.
Graydon Clark. Your homie Graydon, yeah, and
I meant to put on my honorable mentions, Angel's Revenge too.
Oh,
that's
my God.
Yeah. Graydon Clark directed Final Justice pretty well.
Violent Charlie's Angels episode, yeah.
But it's just like that movie, Final Justice. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is torture, and I've seen it a few different times, including the uncut moments. There is just something about just how just implausible and just stupid it is that you cannot take your eyes off the screen. You're like, so he's in love with this chick who is clearly like 30 years younger than him, and you go. It's just a very confusing storyline. How he's even able to sneak into the country. I love how Servo is making fun of the jazzy kind of music that plays during the boat chase. And they start moving their heads around.
No, I love the ending. You better run, or he'll eat you better run.
We'll return after these messages.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR, we add them to our queues, we wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
Cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US, we are in the UK, we are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Naruto, all things that we love, all manga that were originally published in the legendary magazine Weekly Shonen Jump.
But not every series can run for 300 chapters and have a hit anime. This is David.
This is Jordan.
We're the hosts of Shonen Flop. Each episode we look at manga that ran in Jump that didn't quite make it.
We discuss what it did wrong, what it did right, how the series could have turned itself around, and ultimately, was it a flop or not?
We're on all your favorite podcast apps, and you can find us at shonenflop.com.
Keep on flopping, floppers.
Your lunch. Yeah, and much like all these other suggestions they're making fun of, just they sneak in as many fat and belch jokes as they can. Oh man, it's great. So next up is, as Dr. Forrester puts it, James Earl Jones's biggest regret: City Limits. This makes even less sense than the KTMA episode. What's the one with Burgess Meredith? Last Flight, I think is. No, it's. You know the one where it's like an apocalyptic movie, and it's not ringing a bell. The Last Chase. It's kind of like that one, as well as many of the other futuristic cyberpunk type apocalyptic movies they have, and it's definitely way looser than even Battlefield Earth. But damn it, I just find it so funny when they're making fun of all the remote controlled helicopters and as many Robbie Benson jokes as they can get, much like Patrick Swayze. They just could not help themselves.
And Kim Cattrall as
Kim Cattrall, yeah.
This is CNN.
Yeah, they go to town with what James Earl Jones was known for at that time. It goes by really fast, and yes, it just begins Crow's love of Kim Cattrall. So yeah, for that song and the segment.
You know what's weird about that movie though is that the guy who plays the good guy in that movie, the main character, was the good guy in Christine, and it was also in My Science Project.
Him, John Dahl from freaking Miami Vice gets killed at the beginning.
Yeah,
there's plenty of other supporting actors which they don't mention, like Tony Plana.
Who was it? The guy who worked with Roland Emmerich.
Yeah, Dean Devlin. Yeah,
Dean Devlin was
director, producer himself is one of the kids at the beginning. Oh, thank God he gave up acting. But yeah, I feel like it's an underrated episode and it's very overlooked, unfortunately, just because it's one of those in between episodes, and the movie itself isn't necessarily anything to write home about. But I just love how they make fun of how perverted Crow and Servo are with her holding up the umbrella at the beginning. Okay, you two youngins. Next one up, This Island Earth, featured in the MST3k movie. I've seen it so many times. It's great to have it as a warm-up movie. Just if you're having movies on all day, play at the beginning of the day. There's so many riffs. Obviously, yeah, there's some deleted scenes they could have put back in, both concerning the movie and the host segments. But I do feel like it's an underrated, just kind of TV show to movie continuation. It's very laid back and probably the shortest episode.
You know, my kids, if they saw me do this, you're not my real father.
You're not my real father. And, oh man,
oh, this sucked. For sleep for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the greatest line one of the greatest lines I've ever heard in MST history. It was what is this and the rest crap?
And the risk. Oh man. That and they go to town just making fun of all just what's going on, all the mysterious people who are going around who clearly aren't human.
The German guy comes walking by. Ja, stimmt, mein Heil Hitler.
Yeah, they sneak in as many military or James Bondish kind of jokes as they can. Oh man, it is great. I think I'm trying to remember the joke where they're being like resuscitated in like the gas chamber, and you see their skeleton and
I
my
farted.
intestines. Yeah.
Now I farted too.
Yep. They get as much restroom humor there. Oh man. Oh, it's good. Escape 2000, which you had as an honorable mention. I also known as Bronx Warriors 2. It's so hysterical how I feel like Toblerone, not to be confused with the candy, the caramel candy, is an underrated movie character. I love Mike's portrayal of him in the host segment. See, I survived, which is even more ironic because if you see the uncut movie, he does actually survive. But
no, he doesn't.
Actually, no, he does die. That's right. Shit, he gets shotgun blasted. Yeah, but I'm trying to. I always mix it up. I just remember it's just way more violent, and it's surprising they were able to get this episode air.
I think the thing that gets me about that movie is the main guy has to hire another guy in order to take out the bad guy.
Yes,
and he's got the little kid. He's got the little kid, and they go, Jim Henson's Chairman Mao babies.
Yeah, they do sneak in a Jim Henson joke. I love when there's an older looking gentleman in a mysterious like CIA type uniform, and they just say, Wilford Brimley is Special Agent 007.
I love the woman in that movie though. They just make fun of her. They're like, I must have blood.
Yeah, they're pretty much she just looks like a vampire woman to them, and so they just cannot help themselves. And and much like Warrior of the Lost World, they just go to town just joking about how many endless villains get gunned down stormtrooper style.
Well, the thing that gets me is I saw the Italian version of that at a film festival.
Oh, lovely.
I couldn't help but start hearing the riffs in the back of my head,
Yeah, it does get stuck in your head. The bunker almost feels like a Return of the Jedi kind of knockoff, but out of all, I do legit love those Mad Max knockoff movies, and they're kind of like Escape from New York. But yeah, it's like even the main character, Trash, the minute they hear his name, they just can't help themselves. What are you looking at, Trash? Yes.
I gotta check my Roquefort cheese.
Mm-hmm. He just looks like a rock star who lives with his parents. There's no character.
Funny note about that. They'd done the Bronx Warriors before that,
and
the reason why he wears a jacket in the movie is that he lost all the muscle mass he had in the Bronx Warrior.
Yeah.
Wow.
He had to look tougher than he actually was, but he had slimmed down. And there's actually hysterical rumors pertaining to this entire production, believe it or not. And they do work in some Henry Silva jokes because he's a bad apple in this.
Yeah.
And other than this rare American version, I can't think of any other time where it's actually been called Escape 2000, which is a Brian Trenchard Smith apocalyptic movie a few years prior to this. So it's another episode that's been hard to release just due to the copyright issues. You can get it on a Blu-ray 2-pack though, I think. So there we go. Next up, and I'll try to scoot for these, is you already mentioned Deathstalker Free. Time of the Apes as my first complete episode, saw all the way through, and I was sold from that point on. Fling crap, and just you instantly get into it. I still am trying to find the entire uncut Japanese TV show.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Why doesn't Johnny care?
Johnny, yeah, just deciphering it. Much like the Gamera episodes of I Want Kenny, it's kind of the throwback to that. It's just with what is up with Johnny, and because of all the nonstop just shocking close-ups, they just go to town. Whoa!
He's in the valley of the fuzz guitar.
Oh man, it's too much fun. Too much fun. Cave Dwellers, also known as Ator 2. It's just the snakes in this, the female lead, just making fun of how over the top the villain is. It's a fun one.
The hang gliding scene kills it for me.
Yeah, it does go on too long. How much O'Keefe is in this movie?
Miles O'Keefe. And he's one of the few people, like when they spoofed him, he asked for a copy.
He did, and he was actually happy because he wasn't too proud of that movie. Oh man, much like Adam West thanking him for Zombie Nightmare. So and then Pod People, Trumpy, you can do stupid things. Yeah. And I'm a virgin. It stinks. Oh man, this violent ET extra movie knockoff. And Frank Branagh from freaking Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He's like the guy in the bar show now. Is the main like inspector trying to stop this alien, and he looks like he was on there for like a day. Oh man, it gets surprisingly gory. It's pretty much uncut.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, and yeah, just good interaction. I like how they do much like all these other kinds of movies, just all kinds of and just dress up in the host segments. And then of course it's got to mention it. It is Space Mutiny.
Oh.
Just making fun of how Red Brown screams like a girl, how Sissy Cameron is like doctor lady, grandma, is because she looks older than she actually is. And then some Cam Mitchell jokes because he looks like Santa Claus. And then one of the texts looks like one of our favorite singers. What do you got for me there, Rick Ashley?
Also starring star of Kill or Be Killed and To Kill and Kill Again, James Ryan.
Mm-hmm, James Ryan. This was my intro to him. I'm still a fan.
And John Philip Law.
It's tough to decide who. Yeah, freaking Barbarella, John Philip Law. So still trying to figure out who's in charge of this mutiny. And of course, this got Calgon. Yeah, and it got me into all the AIP David A. Pryor movies. You know him from Deadly Prey and all those other junky films. And it's just so funny how like one of the co-directors was like the choreographer behind Grease of all things. It's like David Winters. What one hell of a crazy movie, and using footage from the original Battlestar Galactica. Oh man, it's dynamite. And if you got to introduce people to them, do this episode or my number one, which is Fugitive Alien.
Whoa.
Oh, yes.
One or two or both.
just number one. Number two is good, but number one, I just have a soft spot for the forklift jokes, as well as just I feel like there should be a heavy metal band called Kin and the Fugitive Aliens. Like if you're gonna name it after a MST3k featured movie.
Major
May, and yeah, much like all these other Sandy Frank video compilations, they go to town just making fun of the convoluted story, and they kind of run out of steam in the last half, but it is funny seeing when he's sneaking into the palace and he's going, yeah, there's a bunch of blinking lights. Joes. Joes.
I just love you're stuck here.
You're right. He's trying to get off the planet. You're stuck here. Oh man. So that is it for mine. I look forward to Tom's. I'm surprised we didn't cross over. Here we are.
Well, we did cross over on one. Final Justice is my number 8, and for a lot of the same reasons, it was a toss up between Final Justice and Mitchell. But out of the two movies, I went with Final Justice because it's just that little bit of sleaze and improbability that makes everything work out for the absolute best.
And much like I accuse my parents, it's a throwback to a movie just with so many just shifts in tone. Yeah. And great villains who you just want to make fun of.
Yep, and oddly enough, I accuse my parents as one of my honorable mentions.
Same here.
Same here too.
It could have been a perfect movie, and instead you have this Claude Rains type villain just stealing the movie. And much like any of these greaser type movies, it's just rare seeing them do kind of a beatnik kind of, just a 50s gang picture which is trying to also be a very just poorly researched PSA at the same time, and they root for the unlikable lead to be killed to no avail.
If I think about it too, I accuse my parents. It's like the kid wins an essay contest. Mom shows up drunk. He becomes a shoe salesman, meets this girl, falls in love with her. The guy who's in love with her too is like a drug boss. He talks really fast. He runs, the kid runs away, meets this guy in a diner. It's just like so silly.
Yeah, it just and Crow also and Crow and Joel all get to dress up. Even Gypsy gets to be Joel's date in that one party segment. Mm-hmm. Oh man, it's like you say, it could have been a good movie. It could have been a decent gangster picture. It's so funny when the movie gets unexpectedly pretty violent. Pre-code era.
All right, for me, number 10 is one of the newer ones. It's Avalanche.
Oh, Rock Hudson and company. Yeah, it's Robert Forster.
I will.
Mia Farrow. Yeah.
Not just the star power, but just in the situation, but just the fact that it just oozed 70s. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly one of the reasons why I had to say, you know what, this has to go on. And actually, it helped me to it helped elevate above some of the other ones, because when you grow up in that era, you look for those certain things, and Avalanche had just about everything I could have asked for. Mm-hmm. The only thing missing was a roller disco scene, and beyond that,
robo disco scene,
roller disco.
Aloha,
yeah.
My favorite line is that at least she went out the way she was, lit.
Man.
Okay, number 9, Samson and the Vampire versus Vampire Women. Number 8, Final Justice. Number 7, Wild Rebels.
Ooh.
Wow! Whoa!
Man, you're going into dark territory here.
That's a curveball.
Yeah, and it was in a block of 3 sort of biker movies. You had Sidecackers, you had Hellcats, and then you had Wild Rebels. For me, what made Wild Rebels that much more enjoyable for me was the character Banjo.
Yeah.
The guy, I don't know if they paid him by the word, but he literally didn't say anything during the movie. He made sounds and everything like that. And in one scene, I think he had a Nazi symbol on it.
Oh God.
His person. and just knowing their sensibilities, it's like that's completely repulsive, but at the same time, you couldn't help but love the guy.
He's
Sure,
just
he's
so
a Nazi,
funny.
but he's a lovable Nazi.
Why doesn't he talk? Yeah, he used to be a surfer. Then a surfboard hit him in the back of the head. He can't speak. And of course, Tom, there's Steve Alamo, the greatest lead character ever.
And don't forget about the carrier. Like about the carrier making? No, it's the carrier role. Just
why you think I can think blues?
The Citrusville National Bank, and Frank summarizes it perfectly, just the absurdity of it all, and that's what made Wild Rebel so awesome for me. Number 6, but mentioned the Starfighters. Number 5, the giant spider invasion.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Packers won the Super Bowl.
Packers, go Packers!
Steve Brody. Who was it? Barbara Hale.
Alan Hale Jr.
Alan Hale Jr. The guy who was in he was known as the Henry Higgins of Hollywood because he could do any dialect you could think of. He plays the greasy father in the house.
Yes.
What was his name? Evans. I forgot his name. But yeah, that move and the thing that gets me is the guy who directed Monster a Go-Go.
Small world. Oh man.
And some of the special effects, like the giant spider that's going around, you can tell it's a vehicle and it's got animatronic legs and stuff like that. It was so bad it made my list.
Can't blame you.
All right, number 4, Danger Death Ray.
Oh,
another wacky spy movie. I love those espionage movies.
that
and Operation Kid Brother are pretty underrated.
Yes, there were so many. Secret Agent, Super Dragon. They had a theme going for a while. They had the Secret Agents. And there was another one that I can't remember what that one was involved judo range.
Agent from Harm.
Agent from Harm, yes.
Yeah.
Were you being harmed? Yeah.
But of course, with Danger Death Ray, you had the Bapa Dapa Dada. That just permeated the entire movie from start to finish.
The Doodletown Pipers.
and the machine, and the camera, or the wall-mounted machine guns.
And the Ben Murphy jokes they make. Yep.
Yes.
It's good.
One part they're showing the guys, the one bad guy's like, if Andre the Giant and Michael Caine had a kid.
I would like to start a barbershop quartet.
Phrase for peaceful purposes only.
Yes. That in itself.
The best part in that is when they're escaping with the professor, and it's a toy helicopter on a toy boat.
Yes, toy boat. Real, not toy. And they did something similar with a car going over a cliff later on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you spend a good deal of money on special effects.
Oh, totally.
Number 2, gird yourself for this one, folks. The Puma Man.
Oh snap! Miguel Angel Fuentes strikes again.
Yep. And
probably one of the few superhero movies they've done.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, it sticks in your head, and you'll find yourself singing the Puma Man song, or just making up lyrics as you go along. And it's like what would happen if the Greatest American Hero was actually produced over in Italy or somewhere, because just the entire absurdity of the outfit, the inability to fly, the weird things he. Now, of course, you got Donald Pleasance being funky.
Yep.
So that's your selling point right there. I don't care who you are. Donald Pleasance is funky. Boom, I'm in.
Donald Pleasance and Pleather.
Yeah, exactly. With the big giant head.
Yeah.
Oh, and that one also has one of my favorite musical segments with Roger Whittaker.
Yeah.
And number one, which I've already spoiled, I unironically love this movie, Red Zone Cuba.
Oh dear. Deep hurting.
I get running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got Coleman Francis on my mind.
This is a hazelnut Sumatra blend.
Just the fact that they showed just some of the dumbest footage of the same 6 guys trying to infiltrate Cuba. That just took it over the top for me. I don't care how many people hate it. I will die on this hill and say Red Zone Cuba is a fantastic
worth
episode.
It. We're suffering through.
This one is like, at 12 o'clock, there's a patrol boat. At 12:15, we're captured.
Yeah. And who could? I would be remiss if I didn't mention the golden tones of one John Carradine.
Are you trained to
The great. They should do an electronic remix of it. Maybe a more banjo.
No, that's from Wild Rebels. So.
Oh, even better. Combine the two. They're in the same cinematic, the MST3k cinematic movie universe.
I figured out the chords to that. It's just somebody strumming on a guitar going, okay, I'm going to try to play a chord. Jinga, 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 you know.
Oh, man.
John Carradine for Viceroy. Sal Mineo for Viceroy.
Right. The one thing I love about that is the one guy's dressed up as Castro, but it's just a fake beard.
Jeez. Yeah.
It's awfully nice.
Castro.
It's awfully nice for Mrs. Mendenbach to let her use her backyard while we're training to invade Cuba.
Yeah, there are so many quotable lines and just different elements that make Red Zone Cuba as close to a perfect episode as you can get. And I kind of did the same thing that JJ did. I left out Manos. And I'll explain why.
Too goofy a movie.
It's like Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
It's awesome by itself, but it gets so much attention. It gets so much. It's been analyzed to death, and
Joel doesn't even think it's the best episode, but he's just noticed more and more people have wanted to know more about it because it kind of got them into cult movies. I know Frank still thinks it's just a funny movie in general. He has no regrets about it.
Do you know what Joel's favorite movie is? I heard it's my parents.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
He says because the movie's just so early 1940s, late 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
You know that message to the parent. Don't let your kid be involved. And the talkings. It's all that. That's what I think his favorite movie supposedly is. So.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I accuse my parents is also on my honorable mention list. It holds up. No matter how many times I watch it, I always enjoy it. It's like comfort food. I will pop that on when I have nothing else to do, and I'll be singing, "Are you happy with your work?"
Define happy.
Define happy.
Yeah.
My favorite part is when he's doing the shoes, and he's like, "Can I show you something in a size me?" It's a thought that she's looking in the window. Says, "Your mother's in detox." And then he says, he's putting the shoes on. He's like, "According to this, your feet don't exist." And then they close up to the guy behind. Hogan, push the earth shoes, Heil Hitler. You know, that whole scene is like he's like I saw your underwear. You know, it's just like stupid shit they're saying in that scene.
Did you want me to go into honorable mentions, or are we gonna hold that off?
Whatever else you got. I mean, there's Phantom Planet. There's plenty of other underrated ones where. I think it was Last of the Wild Horses, where Trace or Dr. Forrester and Frank get to be on the SOL for a change. Yeah, there's all kinds of. There's what's the episode with Timmy? Crow faces off with his evil robot twin.
Oh, dang it!
He's making fun, and there's another one making fun of the mirror universe as well.
Yeah, Last of the Wild Horses is the one.
So that's the same one.
Is the mirror? Okay. Your agonizer, please.
Yeah, those are pretty underrated episodes.
There's the one episode I've always liked, and I don't think anybody's ever mentioned it, is San Francisco International.
There you go.
That's on my honorable mention.
A confusing TV pilot. Obviously, all the Gamera ones and Godzilla ones are must watches, especially the Jet Jaguar song and Megalon episode. Yeah.
Provided we don't get struck down by Toho. I don't know why they're kind of protective of that giant lizard.
Giant lizard, yeah. Mighty Jack is okay, but
yes.
I think the one that always gets me is like there's a couple that are like they almost made honorable mention, and I was kind of like going, maybe not. And one of them was Jack Frost.
Jack Frost, Future War, Death by Pencil. He froze it at the dinosaur. Oh, man.
Also, one of the ones I threw on honorable mention because it was one that really kind of kept the hooks in me. Crash of the Moons.
Crash of the Moons. There's so many of those rocket ship XM type ones.
Yeah. Tom, would you put Crash of the Moons and Manhunt in Space like together? Because they're both Rocky Jones.
I would put them very close together. The only
cinematic universe.
Yeah, the only reason why Crash the Moons is pops on my list is for sentimental reasons, but Manhunt in Space is also high quality stuff. So
just fun stuff. Any of the Commander Cody shorts you should totally check out just for cinematic nostalgia. If you're going to go to KTMA era, there are some winners actually there. I'd recommend SST Death Flight because of the outrageous cast. And what's the one at the stadium? It's annoying if you watch it by itself, but super.
Yeah.
You want to see Jerry Jameson, Irwin Allen knockoffs. There you go.
There was one they did that I thought was pretty cool, and that was I like the Slime People.
Slime People's wild. What happened to the guy on the stick?
And nobody realizes the one that gets me the most is Moon 02.
02, yeah.
02 is so much fun.
Moon 02 and
I love 12, those kinds of movies.
12 to the Moon, where they go outside, and if you look at the camera, the way they're filming it, you can tell it's a soundstage because you can see the studio lights on top.
Man, yeah, it's got some schlocky values, but it is just interesting. I'm sorry, I love it. Oh man,
I got a couple. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I didn't have anything.
I have two more on my honorable mention list. Another one of those Biker movies, The Hellcats.
Yes,
Ross Hagen, the Ross Hagen actor pull that kills me every time.
You have the entire apologies of the whole world, including Red China, when he comes out.
And the last one on my list, another sentimental favorite, Teenage Strangler.
Man, I didn't steal no bike.
What do you want me to look up?
It's just have you ever seen Cam? Have you ever seen Teenage Strangler?
Yep. Nah, it's like beginning of Mike era.
So like that little torpy kid. I mean, oh.
He was Neil Patrick Harris. He was that generation's Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
it. Are there any that are funny, but because your last viewing was so painful of that movie, you hesitate to rewatch the episode? I know I was that way recently with Hobgoblins, where I'm like, Jesus, too much.
I would say probably not Hop. Who was the one that I watched? And I was like, oh, like wait. Put that question again.
Just a movie is like, obviously there's always funny episodes, but what are ones where you saw recently and you're like, that's the last time I see that episode? Nothing, no offense, it's just too much pain to get through.
Hamlet with Maximilian.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
They did say they struggled on that one. I know there are some fans of that, but I do recall that was one of the few episodes we kept turning off just because that movie just so
Hamlet,
boring.
And I think the Amazing Transparent Man, that episode I can't watch all the way through. I don't know why. It just
unless you're forced at gunpoint, you're not gonna watch it.
The short was great by Union Pacific, which was Days of Our Years. Has like a cataclysmical accident because of something they didn't do. But like the movie just didn't do it for me. But then there's an opposite one where it's High School Big Shot, which I love.
Yeah, I had trouble watching that growing up just because it was just kind of just barely a story, but I'm sure I'd love it now. And I need to rewatch it. I'm still going for a lot of episodes I haven't seen in a while, since maybe, I want to say 2012. Some I've seen a while, but I just need to rewatch them again just because. Oh man.
Yeah, for me it was overdrawn at the memory bank. That one I can't bring myself to slog through it, no matter how many times.
I mean, I'll watch every episode again once, but
yes,
there are some where you're like, oh boy. And I will admit the first Netflix episode, is it it's not Sumeru, Uguri. What's the first episode they do?
The Korean Godzilla
Godzilla knockoff. Yeah, that. Yeah, and nothing against the movie. The movie's fun, but like the riffs do not kick into gear until like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and I get it. They were just finding their voice. They're making them all back to back, but it just didn't have the best riffs. And the movie is good, but I didn't like the copy of it that they had on screen.
Yeah, another one. The last one that I had a hard time getting through.
Mac and Me.
Oh, that one was torture. But I was also in The Incredible Melting Man.
Oh,
that one is hard to get through. I've done it, but I don't recommend it to anybody who, A, with a weak stomach, or B, with any kind of concept of storyboarding or just logical consistency.
No, there's some great riffs in that movie. You know, I got to say that. But watching it though, you're kind of like, come on, hurry it up, let's go. But I got to agree with you, Tom. Yeah, it does get a little. It is touch and go. With that.
Well, and obviously, I see people shit on season 1 every once in a while. I do find season 1 pretty pleasant. It's just, it's going to be more of a ha-ha as opposed to and
exactly.
I don't know. I'm so tired of the Joel versus Mike versus Jonah, arguments. It's all apples and oranges. When you compare all three Stooges, there's no point.
I mean, the one that I really can't slog through, that I thought was just like there's a couple I just can't watch because it's just
the movie's just deep hurting.
Yeah. Hercules versus the Moon Men.
Yes,
I think that's the one with the time travel. My bad. Yeah.
No. The time travel one.
Yeah, he gets teleported to like a different time or some shit.
No, we
That's some sci-fi elements where he wakes up in bed and then he's like, "This isn't my world."
Oh no, that's Hercules Unchained, where he drinks the waters of forgetfulness.
That's what forgetfulness.
But like, there's a couple that I'm like, Tom's right. There's a couple you got to be like,
I don't like watching the Time of the Apes or the Gamera ones for KTMA era, just because the picture quality is a little lesser, and they just watch the movie. They don't actually talk during it. But that's how they got good. That was the warm up test, And like you say, the host segments have always varied throughout the years. There'd be times where they weren't funny, and then there'd be other times where they were funny, and there'd be other times where the movie riffs was good, but they kind of phoned it in on the host segment that week. And it is what it is.
Killer Shrews is a good one.
Yeah, it is a good riff. I have trouble with the actual movie itself, but there is some funny shit in there. With the puppets and all. Teenagers from Outer Space. That's pretty painful. The dialogue is just too much for me. I know Joe Dante has a place in his heart, but then again, he loves every 50s B movie.
No, Cam. The dialogue was torture.
Yeah. Oh man.
Of the grandfather when Joel's saying, "It's the news review coming back to
you." Oh man. I will not watch Merlin's Mystical Shop of Wonders anymore.
Oh yeah. I can't sit through that. I like
just two different movies tapped together. I would always associate the monkey with the tambourine and toy, and then the cat on fire is pretty wild and just takes you out of the movie. You're like, Jesus, this got dark for a PG-13 movie. And then apparently the only difference between that and the uncut version is there's just more scenes of Merlin in the background, and you forget he's in like both timelines of the movie, so that gets even more confusing. And you're like,
wasn't that the one they didn't air? Like it wasn't aired in the original run, and they like pulled that out. They were like, "Oh, we got one more."
Sci-Fi
episode.
goofed up, and they aired it after the show had already been canceled. But I know many just always associated it because Ernest Borgnine was his usual likable self, and that is the grand.
Yes.
But man, that movie just goes on way too long, and I just hate how it's shot. I really do. And I usually the schlockiness of a camera can kind of appeal to it, especially on this show. But man, just the tone shift just really. And the Fu Manchu episode. Yeah. I'm not watching that one anymore.
Yeah, that one is like
it's not even the being stitched up segment. It's just the story is just so indecipherable, and just it's if you didn't have them in the background making fun of it or Christopher Lee's presence, you really would be just like, yeah, I'm out. Jesus, Franco. I get it. You're doing whatever you do, which is stitch unrelated footage together. But man, this is so hackneyed.
Yeah, I was getting to the point where I was hoping that Pierre Cushing would show up and stake him.
Yeah,
stake just Franco or Chris Lee. Yeah,
and I mean the plot is so incomprehensible. Like
the black and white footage that doesn't match up with the ship crash at the beginning. You're like, what did that have to do with all these ninjas? And
and then like the one guy has to have a heart transplant.
Yeah, the stitching goes on. You can just tell Servo is about to cough up his robotic lungs. He's just coughing.
Time Chasers is the same way too.
Oh God, the discount Back to the Future, but during the Revolution, it's so funny how the bad guy was bashing it at the time. He went to a live screening of one of their shows and walked out. He's like, David J.
I'm Bob Evil.
I'm Bobby. Yeah, David Giancola seems like a nice guy, but oh man, he makes some serious crap.
Him and Fred Olin Ray are like two guys I like reading like their stuff on Facebook. But Dave Giancola is like, I did it. It's great to know that I've been like Rick Sloan is like that too.
Oh yeah.
With Hobgoblins, he's like, yeah, it got me famous.
I also have to throw in throw in a plug for the 2 Master Ninja episodes they did. I remember watching that show. I remember watching that show when it was first aired, and
The Master.
absolutely loving it. Yep. And some of the jokes they make, you're saying that can't be possibly B. Lee Van Cleef. It's like, you know what? They're right.
It is now. Warrior of the Lost World. Don't get me wrong, it is hysterical. It is so funny, but man, that David Worth, also known as David Worthless, as they call him, is like, man, what a douchey guy this paper chase guy is. And I say that as a fan of the host segments. You know, Mike Nelson is so funny as Mega Weapon's voice.
Yes.
Let me tell you about what happened and the freaking motorcycle.
Right.
Yes.
It says "screw you" when he presses a button command, and this is like, okay.
But it did that.
He
but we
leaves
still have
his
not got.
Is it his girlfriend or daughter? I can't remember. It's like he leaves her and then comes back to rescue. It's like you could have taken her on the copter with you.
Yeah, it was his daughter. Keep away, sucker. But we never got the answer to the all-important question. Did he have any fruit to declare?
All I know is he's that paper chase guy.
Robert Denby.
Yeah, the executioner guy. Yep. Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to not. I thought we were supposed to leave Robert Denby alone. Going back to Riding with Death.
Riding with Death.
Riding with Death. Yeah, which is two episodes of the Gemini Man.
Yes, another show I remember watching as a kid and loving.
Yeah,
even before I knew the awesome that was Ben Murphy.
And Ben Murphy is in another one, Being from Another Planet.
Another word. Yep.
Which has one of the funniest casts ever, because Sherry Belafonte's in that, and then the guy who played the Doctor in Rattlers, which cinematic did in that too.
It's a small world. It's good to have a cinematic Titanic connection.
That's right. Oh, we can't also forget ones like Parts the Clonus Horror and Bidding at the End.
I love Barai Gordon and just the fact that he's still working. But man, Beginning of the End has some very underrated riffs, and kind of like Phantom Planet. I love how the one gal is snuggled up with the bad guys trying to get all romantic with her, and it's either Mike or Crow who goes, "I should call the police." But Beginning of the End is such an underrated creature feature, and they get to joke about all the various men who get killed and have and the hero somehow is like a reporter and knows how to use a machine gun.
Well, the one
and of course, go ahead.
What is the Creeping Terror?
Yes.
Which has been rated as one of the worst movies of all time. Because of the fact that the guy who did it was, if you ever see a movie, The Creep Behind the Creeping Terror, he was not exactly the greatest guy on earth. But not only that, the movie itself, it had the dialogue in it. He lost the dialogue tape in Lake Mead.
Mm-hmm. And much like Monos, he dubbed it in afterwards. At least he didn't use elevator music, but I kind of like elevator music. I don't know what's wrong with me. Oh man,
there are so many great episodes that we could go through and
decipher. Is it a good episode or is it barely watchable because of how bad the movie is?
But yeah, you will rarely find a stinker in the MST vaults.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing
you do like them more because of being on that. So I think that's just it. It turns you into the B movie guy. But there are other ones where it's like, oh man, and so it is fun to kind of decipher through the various.
Exactly.
It gets kind of weird because you got to think MST3K kind of turned us all into like, grindhouse B movie fans.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only that, it kind of like gave a lot of people who were in these movies a big second chance. You know, I mean, you look at, someone like
I once told Reb Brown he was the best Captain America. He gave me a thumbs up.
Yeah, Reb Brown. I remember Reb Brown as Captain America. I also remember him in what was that movie he did with
Howling 2, which I just finally got the Blu-ray of.
Uncommon Valor with Gene
Uncommon Valor, yeah. And he
Yeah.
was also in the first season of Chips.
Yeah,
I
he played one of the cops, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of the go-to guy. Like, he's got a hell of a chin too.
I wish he had done a cameo in the Captain America movies.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
I know he went to the premiere of one of them.
Well, yeah, they invited him, and him and Sissy are married in real life. They've been married for like 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she I think didn't like it at first, when they were like making fun of her. But she kind of was like, "Oh, okay, I know what they're doing," But he was like,
get it.
He was all happy when they did Space Mutiny. He was like, "Yep, they got. Hey, I'm recognized for it now." But you got him, Miles O'Keefe. I forgot who else. Kathy Ireland, Kim Cattrall,
yes.
Who was Adam West, Beverly Garland. They
Yep.
all loved it. The one guy who they supposedly didn't like it was Joe Don Baker.
Yeah. And Trace did say in like a 2016 like CW like Minneapolis interview that he did find Joe Don Baker previously to be a good actor. I mean, he thought he was excellent as the Colonel on the Edge of Darkness miniseries, but yeah, he was just like he just wasn't 100% there.
Well, the thing that gets me is them hearing that like he wanted to beat him up, and like he was like Kevin Murphy or something, or Mike Nelson was in a hotel, and he was in the same hotel as Joe Don, and he was like trying to, like, it was Kevin Murphy. He's like, "I'm trying to hide from Joe Don Baker," so just like throw a punch.
You're right. He's like, even if he's not here, I'm fearing he's going to come over and kick my ass if he finds out who we are.
Now, there was the third Joe Don Baker movie they could have done called The Golden Needles.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that would have been amazing, because you would have gotten like Joe Don Baker, and also had Burgess Meredith,
Robert Clowes,
and Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
Jim Kelly, Elizabeth Ashley, and I'm trying to think who Ann Southern was in that.
Yes.
Yeah, Ann Southern. And like I put it on the MST, I put it on the House of Deep 13. I said, this would have made the trifecta,
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen Mitchell Uncut. It's pretty good. It's good.
It can be, yeah. But
yeah,
it's just one of those also where, I don't know, it seems like there's different versions of these too much to where it's like you have to get past the fact that he is such a douche.
My Mitchell.
My Mitchell.
What would you
damn say?
You put him on the feet.
On your feet. Give a dog a treat. That's a hell of a shoe.
I had fun.
And much hilarity ensued.
Yes. Oh man, that was fun, man. I like that. So, yeah, I haven't signed up for the Gizmoplex yet.
Yeah, I like how they change it up every month. They give you some free stuff.
I just hope they don't pull all the stuff off of like, Roku channel or Pluto. I don't think they're going to do that, to be honest with you.
No, definitely not.
But I'm going to wait for the Gizmoplex, and I'm also going to wait. If they put that stuff out on DVD, I'll get it. But right now, I want to see what happens when Joel comes back to host. And I got to say this: supposedly the new girl, the girl they have hosting now,
yeah,
it's good. So I like how the fact they have Jonah and her host Emily hosting. You know, so
totally.
Yeah, I did catch the live stream they did when they were ripping on Moon 02. I thought Emily did a decent job.
Yeah,
the socially distanced. Yeah,
and I think the one thing I like about her is that she's kind of like Joel. You know,
totally. And she's just very natural, and she told me so many hysterical stories about some other sci-fi indie B horror movies she was in, and how she kind of just got used to being the odd duck out who happens to be a comedian and being trained by the Jim Henson Company for puppeteering. It's like, that's great.
It was at this point that they realized they had nothing more to say.
Totally.
I just want to say one of my favorite riffs from Human Duplicators. Get away from him, you bitches.
Oh, God.
I love when he's walking around. He's like, I like to press wildflowers.
I like to press wildflowers.
Dolly, pretty Dolly. Let me comb your hair.
And that's only one. It's only one slight modification to his voice, and you have Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. I love when he's like, when she's like, I'm practicing to be a world champion blind lady.
Right.
Oh.
And there's also one where I think they made a reference to, now I know who did the decorating or something along those lines.
Oh, my favorite is allow me to gesture like Michael Dukakis. What? The boys cloned Lumpy?
Lumpy, yeah. Oh, man. So,
you know what's weird about that movie, though? I watched it, and I realized that was one of Hugh Beaumont's last movies he ever made.
They do like making fun of him whenever they see him.
So
much like the honeymooners joke. Art Crow.
Art Crow, yeah. There was
I thought you were Dill. It's another recurring gag. They do plenty of the I like you, that's why I'm going to kill you last. It's kind of a play on Commando or some shit. And of course,
it was Commando.
Mike Nelson, being a Roadhouse fan, would always do kinds of, they had done Patrick Swayze Christmas type stuff for years, but it was so funny how he would sometimes do other just Swayze-isms like pain don't hurt much.
It's my way or the highway.
My way or the highway.
I think one of the best things that like I've ever seen them do is when they did 5 minutes straight on, I think it was Teenage Strangler, when Mikey gets introduced.
Oh yes, Mikey the doll.
And he's like, oh, I want to make Jimmy, I want to make you feel better. Yeah, and don't stop playing like you're Lord Byron. Just like
you're Lord Byron.
I was never crazy about
from my beating.
Yeah, I was never really crazy about Brain Guy's Observer cohorts, but I loved, if there's anything sci-fi had in common with earlier era, I liked how they would bring in other just bizarre characters that were more than just the movies and other things, just other wacky one-off characters that were funny. And basically the nanites were cool, just basically a Star Trek parody. And then they had the Beneath the Planet of the Apes storyline spoof.
Oh, we also can't forget another Hugh Beaumont classic, The Mole People.
Right. So wild how Jerry and Sylvia,
John
the Mole People, work with. They work with.
He's in The Mole People, and he's in Lost Continent.
Lost Continent, yeah. And they joke how it's not his best hour, even though he's a well-known B-movie actor. But yeah, it's just so interesting how, Jerry and Sylvia, the Mole People, were in early Joel and Trace years, and then it was years before they actually riffed the movie they were referencing in sci-fi era. It's
And then
always hurt my head watching that. Like, wait, oh, that's right. The mole people was later, but yet the characters were D13.
The one I love the most is what was it? Like when you were talking about ones you can't get through, Soul Taker is one of them I can't get through.
I can't blame you. I always got bored on it growing up. Now I've guffawed at it because of all the God in heaven jokes they make and Joe Estevez, but I can't blame it. It would probably be boring.
Werewolf's a great one.
Oh yeah, it's a piece of shit, but it's a great movie. Just the car crash and we're a werewolf. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And the one girl who's sitting there not wearing pants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. And her awkward Russian accent. Yeah, it's
I thought it was the same woman.
It's fascinating. It's so fascinating.
I love the bad guy has different hairstyles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another guy from Fitzcarraldo. Yeah, Jorge Rivera. Yeah, he. Oh man.
I will say this though. I do believe that we found Tommy Wiseau's accent. If you listen to the lady from Werewolf and listen to Tommy Wiseau, they're very close.
Yeah, very similar. They might be cousins. I don't know.
Oh hi, werewolf.
Oh hi. Yeah.
Mark, you're a werewolf.
Werewolf. Yeah. Oh, and just how the werewolf knows kung fu all of a sudden. Yeah.
Oh, well, he is Neo.
There you go. Ouch. Well, this has been a delight as always. We'll play by ear what we do next outing, but yeah. Any other things you want to promote? Right now is the time, gents.
No, not really. I'm not doing anything right now.
Anything you're watching right now you recommend?
Oh wait, yeah, I would recommend watching. Okay, Peacock has the Universal horror movies now.
Oh yeah, okay. I might have to subscribe.
So they have the big four, the original four: the Mummy, the Mummy, Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Invisible Man. Sweet. That first wave, and then they've got the Bride of Frankenstein on there too.
That's
so
lovely.
If you want to watch a movie that makes you start laughing, that's like supposed to be scary, watch Dracula.
Damn. Ouch.
Because no, I mean it's a great movie, but like if you've listened to Gilbert Gottfried, Dracula.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
You are a wise man, Van Helsing.
Wise friend. I got an idea for you. We could talk cult TV westerns.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. For next week if you want.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's do that.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Oh, that was another favorite of mine. When ever so often they just mention rawhide. Just randomly, anytime anyone's getting in a gunfight or just getting ready to get in a fight. Gunslinger has a few of those. Hakiba.
Oh yeah.
I was waiting for somebody to have a character named Kiba, just for that reason.
Yeah, I was disappointed. He was not there.
Wait, what was Hakiba from? Was that Women of the Prehistoric Planet, or was that?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. It's like very, very early, and they just from that point on, they also started their referencing Jim Cotta every other episode, and half the time they couldn't even remember if they had actually seen the fucking movie. Oh man.
Or Folkajokapus. Which was the record store in Minneapolis. I know that. So there's one episode. I think it's Hercules or Hercules in Chain. When Joe goes, or Folkajokapus, and I was like, no.
Jokapus. Oh man. It is wild out of all the Universal classic movies, the only one they touched was Revenge of the Creature, which I will admit is probably not not the best of the Universal sequels. I was never big on the Black Creature, Black Lagoon, as I was all the other ones like the Wolfman and Frankenstein. But I will say it is funny how they note how Clint Eastwood is an extra at the beginning, and
that
the most bizarre love triangle ever.
And then he does. Then like Mike says, I wonder whatever happened to this guy after the movie was done.
Yeah, just lamenting how he definitely didn't have much of a career. I think the guy they did a cool article on that man at one point. We could even talk about him. I think
there's three movies. There's Creature from the Black Lagoon, Revenge of the Creature, and then The Creature Walks Among Us.
Yeah, Walks Among Us. Yes.
Which is strangest movies they ever did.
It's totally.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up